Welcome to California Now, a podcast produced by Visit California. I'm Satirius Johnson. This episode is all about wellness, and we're going to focus on a few of the many ways to experience it in the Golden State. We start with Les Alfred of the Balanced Black Girl podcast, who tells us about her Sonoma County wellness getaway and about planning a trip that leaves you feeling restored.
For me, that often looks like not having a jam-packed agenda while I'm traveling. It's about having that kind of dance between exploration and flow and giving yourself space to just be.
Then Nancy Furst tells us what it's like to get a spiritual counseling session at the Ojai Valley Inn.
You know, the most common words I hear from people at the end of a session are, I feel so much better. I feel lighter.
After that, Kelly Steward of the Ritz-Carlton Rancho Mirage tells us what it's like to be fully pampered in a luxurious, idyllic setting. That's all coming up on California Now. If you've ever experienced the kind of overpacked vacation that leaves you feeling more exhausted than when you started, my next guest advocates the opposite, time away that refreshes and restores. Les Alfred is the podcaster who founded the website Balanced Black Girl. She's here to tell us more about a recent wellness getaway she took in Sonoma County. Welcome to California Now, Les.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Sure. So to start out, for people who aren't familiar, how do you like to introduce Balanced Black Girl?
I like to introduce Balanced Black Girl as a platform and safe space for conversations around what it means to be a student of wellness. I don't think that anybody has all of the answers about what it means to be well, but I do think that we can all approach wellness with a sense of curiosity. So I aim to facilitate discussions and conversations that let us all think a little bit more about what it means to be well.
And, what's been like the biggest surprise in creating the Balanced Black Girl podcast?
I would say my biggest surprise is one, how much there is to learn. Every episode, especially when I do interview episodes with different guests, I walk away with a new piece of information every time. And I've recorded a lot of episodes, over 150 at this point. So that's a lot of times to have aha moments where you walk away with learning something new.
Is there any example you can give us for like what really surprised you?
Yeah, I actually recently had an episode where I talked to a fertility researcher who specializes in the field of epigenetics, which is basically the understanding of how our behaviors and environment impact our health outcomes and just how much we're able to change how our genes express themselves based off of how we think and how we behave and the habits we have is really, really powerful. So that was a good takeaway because I learned that we actually have a lot more control over our health outcomes than we think.
That's interesting. Wow. So, I feel like, wellness is a fairly amorphous term. So when you say wellness, what do you mean?
I know wellness is something that's been so commodified, especially over the past decade or so on social media. But when I think of wellness, I think about any sort of activity, practice, or mindset that we have that really restores us and replenishes us and leaves us feeling rejuvenated and more centered in who we are.
And so when, the name of your platform is Balanced Black Girl. So what is the Balanced Black Girl kind of perspective that you bring to, your exploration of wellness?
So a lot of people don't love the term balance, which I get, and I do not take offense when people say they don't believe in balance. But I like to offer a different perspective because I think the perspective of balance that people always say that they don't like is this idea that a lot of people feel expected to be on and giving everything 100% all the time. That's what I think a lot of people think of when they talk about balance or work-life balance. And that's not what I think at all. I think balance is actually being able to prioritize what is really important to you in that moment and give just enough energy to the other things to keep it going, but really giving your energy and attention to what matters to you most in that moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you talk a lot about how wellness trips can leave you refreshed rather than depleted. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I think we've all had the experience where we've come back from a vacation and we feel like we need another vacation, whether that's, we have a trip that gets really stressful or we have travel delays or we come back and our inbox is overflowing. So when I think about taking a restorative wellness focused trip, I think about coming back feeling more rejuvenated than I felt when I left. And for me, that often looks like not having a jam packed agenda while I'm traveling. It's about having that kind of dance between exploration and flow and giving yourself space to just be.
Right, right. Do you see people planning getaways with wellness in mind?
I think people are really starting to, especially as we're starting to travel again. After the past few years we've all had with the pandemic, I think people are looking to feel more restored and poured into. And as many people are starting to travel again and move around again, we're wanting to do so in ways that don't feel stressful.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed trends in wellness travel, like maybe toward smaller groups or just, traveling solo?
Solo travel is something that we're definitely going to see take off in the next few years, as well as smaller groups as people are still moving differently from the pandemic. And oftentimes, when we are in these big groups, that's where a lot of the stress can come in. That's when we feel like we need to jam pack everything to make everyone happy, or when logistics can be a little bit more complicated. So I think the simplicity of having solo travel or smaller group travel is definitely going to continue to gain popularity.
So let's talk about your recent trip to Sonoma County. You're based hundreds of miles away in Southern California. So what stuck out about Sonoma County's general vibe?
What surprised me the most is how Pacific Northwest it felt. I am based in Southern California now, but I'm actually from Washington State originally. And when I first got to Sonoma County, I was like, "Am I home? Am I in Washington right now?" Because that's very much how it looked. Just the air, the trees, the landscape, very much reminded me of the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm. And where did you stay in the area?
I stayed in Santa Rosa at the Flamingo Resort.
Talk about that. I mean, I've seen pictures of that place online, and it really seems like it wouldn't be hard to spend all day just reading by the pool there. I mean, it just looks like a very relaxing place.
Oh, it is for sure. If anyone is like a mid-century modern fan in terms of architecture and style, I definitely recommend checking out the Flamingo because it's beautiful, beautiful historic site. And there are definitely some great amenities there. They have the beautiful pool. They also have wellness offerings where they offered yoga, meditation. You can use the health club that's right next door. So there's plenty to get into if you wanted to just stick around the resort. Although in Sonoma County, there are also so many beautiful things to see and explore that you really can't go wrong either way.
I hear you went to, for a pretty unique spa experience. Where did you go, and what did you do?
Yes, I went to Osmosis Day Spa. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the trip because it was just such a unique experience. So, Osmosis Day Spa is actually the only place in North America where you can do a cedar enzyme bath treatment.
Ooh, what's that?
It's very interesting. So, it's actually a Japanese treatment. Basically, where you get into a giant bath that has a mixture of cedar and rice bran and live enzymes, and you're submerged in this mixture for about 20 to 30 minutes for your first time. And the benefits of it are to improve circulation, relieve pain. It's really good for your skin. But it's actually a really beautiful process that you go through. You start with having this traditional Japanese tea ceremony to prepare for the bath. You
Nice.
have an attendant who kind of helps like give you water because it's actually pretty warm when you're in there. This mixture is pretty warm. It's a very like kind of sweaty experience. So they're giving you water and they're talking you through it for that time that you're in there. And when I was doing it, I was just trying to be as still as possible and as meditative as possible. But it was definitely a one of a kind
Mm.
experience.
I mean, it's warm, but what does it feel like? Like it almost sounds like you're like you're bathing in like a porridge or something like that. What is it like?
Kind of, yeah. It is super warm and it's actually very spongy, which was surprising. Getting into it, I thought like, is this gonna hurt? Are these wood chips? Like, what is happening? And it didn't feel like that at all. It was actually very comfortable. It was very soft. It was very finely ground, but it was almost like a warm, damp mixture that was pretty spongy. They almost like dig an area for you to sit in, and then the attendant kind of pours it all over you. So it's almost that vibe of like being at the beach when you're a kid and covering yourself in sand. That's kind of what you
Hmm.
do, and only your head is sticking out, and you're completely submerged in this mixture. So it actually felt really good. It was very soft and comfortable, but it was tricky to sit still for that long. I'll be honest.
It sounds very relaxing, though.
It was. I was definitely very relaxed, and then after the, enzyme bath, I was able to follow it up with a full massage, and so, that was really nice, really helped seal the deal for the relaxation.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So, what else did you do on the wellness front during your trip? I mean, did you commune with nature at all?
We did. We actually had this beautiful experience with Red Car Wines where they offer wine tasting and forest bathing. So they take you out to one of their vineyards and you are surrounded by the redwood trees, which are absolutely beautiful. And they have the forest bathing guide who leads you on a walk through these redwood trees, through the vineyards, who guides you through this really beautiful meditation. And you just get to submerge yourself in nature, which is considered forest bathing.
Hmm.
You are still fully clothed while doing all of this. I know the word bathing can kind of throw people off, but the idea
Right.
of forest bathing is that you're really just being out with nature without any distractions. So that was really beautiful. You kind of go through this meditative experience, and then you get to try some wine after.
That sounds like a perfect pairing.
It was. It definitely was.
Did you hit the coast at all?
I did. We went out to Bodega Bay, which was also really, really beautiful. Just the drive over there from Santa Rosa was gorgeous. Driving through like this almost beautiful farmlands and vineyards to get over there, and then just the vast water, the beautiful rocky beaches also very much reminded me of the Pacific Northwest. It was gorgeous.
And of course, this being wine country, I assume you visited a vineyard or two. Did you?
We did. We did. We actually, with Getaway Adventures, did a bike tour where we went to a few different wineries in the Russian River Valley, and we used our bikes to get around. And so that was really fun. Also, it makes you very conscious while you're wine tasting of not going overboard when you know you're about to hop on a bike. Right after. But it was a really, really beautiful way to see the area again, being fully submerged in nature, feeling
Hmm.
very active, and getting to visit these family owned wineries and learn more about their stories. It was a great experience.
So what was your approach to maintaining balance when you were at a winery?
I wanted to really understand the people behind the wine, and I was almost
Hmm.
more interested in the people behind the wine than I was the wine itself. I mean, the wine itself is also great, but hearing directly from the families that founded the wineries, what brought them there was really cool. Learning about the different microclimates that were in within Sonoma County was really interesting. How just a few miles away, the wines could be completely different because they have a completely different climate, even though it was only a 3 mile, bike ride away, for example. So being just as focused on that learning component as I was on the wine component, I think really helped me feel more balanced.
Mm. Okay, let's talk about some of the other places you experienced. How about coffee?
Coffee, yes. We went to a few really great coffee shops. I mean, being from the Seattle area, I'm always like looking for good coffee.
Yeah.
One of the places that I really loved, we went to Plank Coffee on our way to the bike tour, and that was such a fun find. Also, being a wellness junkie, I'm always looking for healthy options. I'm looking for matchas. I'm looking for smoothies, and so when we walked in there, I was not at all expecting them to have all of these amazing health conscious options. If you're
Hmm.
gluten free or plant based or whatever it is that you'd like, they had there. And everything we had was really, really great. I had a great latte when I was there, some really good gluten free items. So that was awesome. We also
Hmm.
went to Avid Coffee, which was a really cool roaster. So if you're very into the beans being where they roast the coffee, I also had a great coffee there. And then I also went to Cafe Frida Gallery, which was another really great spot. Really great if you're interested in art and being in artistic spaces, because that coffee shop also doubles as a gallery where they feature the work of local artists. So I had great coffee there as well. They also had some really fun, kind of unique options. I want to say I had was maybe like a rose latte.
Hmm.
So they had some really unique kind of drink combinations as well as great avocado toast. So,
Mm-hmm.
any of us avocado toast lovers there
Right.
could also check that out.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. And so what about sit down meals? Like what about food, like restaurants that stood out to you on your trip?
The first night that we were there, we went to Bird in the Bottle in Santa Rosa, which was such a fun experience. So they have kind of an American fusion restaurant that's all family style dining. So everything is shared, and it's a lot of Southern dishes, kind of with a new age twist. That was absolutely delicious.
So what did you have there? What did you order off the menu there?
Oh my gosh, we had a sampling of truly, truly everything. We had amazing steak, we had mac and cheese, we had potatoes, we had incredible desserts. I mean, it was like anything you can think of. Our table was full of food.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Where else did you go? Maybe did you stop for cocktails anywhere?
We did. So we were at the Barlow, which the Barlow, if anyone's visiting Sonoma County, is a great place to check out for just tons of shops, restaurants, and just a cute, really cute area in town. And so one of the places we went in the Barlow was the Fern Bar, which is a newish restaurant that has a ton of great options there. They have a lot of really good food, a lot of like Asian fusion dishes that were really tasty. But they also have this incredible bar with this extensive cocktail menu. And something that was really cool, I actually hadn't seen this before at a restaurant, was they also had a very extensive mocktail menu. So
Hmm.
they partner with a few non alcoholic spirit companies where they're able to turn any of their craft cocktails on the menu into a mocktail. And so my friend and I, who I was with, she's more of a cocktail fan. I'm more of a mocktail fan. So we were
Hmm.
ordering the same things in different versions and kind of comparing them and seeing if we could tell the difference. And it was really, really fun. So even for those people who may feel like, alcohol is not my thing, that could be something great to check out.
That sounds really great. And the Barlow is in Sebastopol, which is a really great little gem of a town in Sonoma County that a lot of people don't, hit when they go to Sonoma.
Definitely recommend.
What do you love about it?
I actually loved all the quirky little shops there. So, right by the Barlow, we went to a shop called Rosemary's Garden, which I believe was founded by the woman who started the Traditional Medicinals tea brand, which is another tea that I really love. So we went to that shop that had every possible herb, tincture, wellness goodie that you could
Hmm.
imagine. So if there
Hmm.
are any wellness nerds like me listening, definitely recommend checking it out. And then on that street, there were a ton of really cute gift shops and antique shops and bookstores and just really quirky local businesses that I definitely recommend walking around and checking out while you're in Sebastopol.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, before we let you go, what's one general piece of wellness travel advice you'd like to share with listeners?
That it's okay to travel in flow. Do not overpack your schedule because you can always find a new adventure to wander into. So give yourself space to do so.
That sounds like great advice. Les, this has really been great. I already feel kind of more relaxed just speaking with you about it, about wellness and restoration. Thank you so much for joining us on California Now.
Thanks for having me.
Les Alfred runs the podcast Balanced Black Girl. You can find her website at balancedblackgirl.com. This is California Now. The California Now podcast has an extensive back catalog you really should check out. I've interviewed tons of locals, more than a few people you'd recognize from the Food Network, and even a few authors like Casey Schreiner, who literally wrote the book on LA's Griffith Park, and Chandler O'Leary, who sketched the sights of a California road trip for her latest book.
There's so many places that are so different. You have to sit there and remind yourself, I'm still in California. I haven't left California.
The best way to find these episodes and many more is to subscribe. You can access our whole archive and get new episodes delivered straight to you as soon as they go live. Just go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to the California Now podcast. Thanks. Wellness travel can encompass a lot more than turning off your phone for a relaxing afternoon at a spa. My next guest says there's even a spiritual aspect to it, and she offers spiritual counseling sessions at the Ojai Valley Inn located east of Santa Barbara. Nancy Furst describes herself as a spiritual artist and is here to share more about her work. Welcome to California Now, Nancy.
Thank you, Satirius. Thank you for having me.
So let's set the stage for people who aren't familiar with the area. What's the town of Ojai like generally?
So, Ojai is a small town that's nestled in the Topatopa Mountains. It's sort of a rare coastal valley. It's a very charming, eclectic, kind of an artist, new age type of town with just gorgeous land and surroundings.
And what about the Ojai Valley Inn specifically? Can you kind of set the scene for us?
So the Ojai Valley Inn is literally 220 acres in this beautiful, pristine place, again, surrounded by these mountains. It's almost too beautiful to describe. It's old growth trees. I think a lot of people refer to Ojai as having sort of a spiritual energy. And I think that's in part, especially at the Ojai Valley Inn, because they have sort of preserved the spiritual history of the place. The Chumash Native Americans originally inhabited the area, and they still, even as elders to this day, will come to the area to do ceremony and ritual, not exactly on the property itself, but in the area. And so the way the Ojai Valley Inn has expanded has been in an inclusive way, that you have not only a sort of a casual luxury experience in a resort, but you have a serene sort of merging of the environment and the history there.
So it sounds to me like when you're there, you kind of feel this different kind of energy.
I do. And honestly, I've worked there for 10 years now, and it's the only place I'm willing to do my in-person readings or sessions with people. That's how much I really love the place and the management and everything that takes place there. It's just quite a treasure. This place in the resort world is highly acclaimed, but it's just a treasure for people to come to.
So it sounds like once I'm there, I don't really have to think about leaving or where to go or make any hard decisions. I can really just enjoy the beautiful surroundings and just be in the moment.
That's so true. Once you arrive there, it's completely inclusive of everything you would need from, many, many restaurants, activities of all kinds. But yes, you leave everything behind. You don't have to drive off the property to do anything, but you can. They have walking trails that take you into the town of Ojai. You don't even have to drive, to go into the town itself. But it's completely inclusive, where once you get out of your car, you won't need a thing.
Yeah, I know there's so much, but talk to me a little bit about some of the things that I can do there. I mean, obviously you can, sit by the pool, I guess, but, what are some of the other things that kind of make the Ojai Valley Inn stand out?
Yes, and they have several pools. They actually have a children's pool. So if you want to, if you don't want to deal with the noise of a lot of kids in a pool enjoying themselves, you can go to the adult pool. They have a lap pool for lap swimmers. They have a legendary golf course. There's actually 31,000 square feet in the spa village, which includes not only the spa area for treatments, but they have something called the artist cottage and an apothecary. And they have these other sort of activities. I think one of them is a beekeeping experience. I think you can sign up for horseback riding in the local area if you want. And they also have something called the farmhouse at Ojai, where they are now bringing in featured chefs, and they will have an evening of their cuisine. I just absolutely love the new edition of the farmhouse. So it attracts people for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm. Do you get a sense that a lot of people go there looking for a kind of reset?
Oh, yes. It's interesting. I've lived in the Los Angeles area myself, and there's not a resort there that's like this. That's what's called a destination resort, where you can, again, it's inclusive and you can have everything take place in this one place. So the Ojai Valley Inn draws many, many, many people from LA, and it's absolutely a place of reset.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about wellness broadly. I mean, how do you define the term?
I would say wellness is a state of wholeness in mind, body, and spirit. And I would also say it's the ability to be present and not triggered by living from past or projecting into future. That's kind of my description of wellness.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about your work. I mean, so if I'm staying at the Ojai Valley Inn, one of the offerings besides yoga and meditation and spin classes is your specialty, which is spiritual wellness. So what does that mean?
People who come to me often are already familiar with what we'll call spirituality, and they're seeking a deeper connection within themselves. They're seeking to feel more comfortable in the world. They're seeking some guidance and some help. I'm someone who's always had a really strong connection with the spirit world, and I have deepened that connection through following my passions in life and using my gifts to help others. So I have a session set up to invite someone into a really nurturing, lovely space. It's a beautiful room that overlooks nature, and it's quiet and private. And once we meet, I always ask you, what interests you in doing this session? And you don't have to have something specific, but most people do because of what they're going through in life. Some people come in and they just say, I don't know, I was just drawn to do this. And that's fine. You don't need to have more than that. But it always begins with a conversation that I can start to feel where you are and what you're there for. And so we begin by talking, and I listen. You know, listening to me is a lost art. And so just people having the chance to have someone really hear them. I'm coming from a completely unconditional loving space, and they can feel that. And so there's an intimacy that's created between us, which is something I really love. And I consider that a privilege to be able to have this kind of time with people. And after that discussion, I lead you over to a table that has a selection of gemstones and crystals. And I have you stand, and I'm going to do a saging, which is a traditional Native American ritual where I'm going to burn some sage and sweep you with it with a wing of a bird, actually. And as I'm saging you, I'm guiding you in kind of a meditation state. Your eyes are closed. I'm having you take some breaths and begin to focus on your breath. And then I'm asking you to bring your mind to that which you want to let go of, whether it's emotionally or physically or mentally or some aspect of your life. And as I'm saging, I'm asking you to silently offer your willingness to let go. And then I move it into an opening and a willingness to receive. So I'm tending to you and starting to guide this process in a way where you're connecting with what's going on in you in a deeper way. And from there, we go back to the table where we're sitting. I've had you choose from that table of gemstones and crystals, one or two that you just feel strongly attracted to. And at the table, we sit and you hold one in each hand. And I get my Native American drum and I begin to slowly, softly drum in a Native American way. And I offer a Native American prayer song in Lakota. Your eyes are closed. You're starting to go on an inward journey as I'm softly drumming. An inward journey that takes you into your own soul, the energy of the deepest parts of who you are. And toward the end of that, I ask you to ask within for any image, message, or word that's coming through you at that time. From there, when I gently guide you out of that, you share with me a little bit about what it was like through the saging, what happened through the drumming, what happened when I asked for an inward message or a symbol or word or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we go to a selection of Native American cards where I have you select intuitively from different card decks so that you can have a direct experience of following your intuition and recognizing how synchronistic those messages are. And you start to build confidence about your own intuitive ability. And from there, it's a sort of a psychic, intuitive process I follow as a channel. I'm opening up as a channel to receive whatever messages from spirit that come through. Sometimes I receive messages from loved ones who have passed. Sometimes I see visions of someone's soul's history and their past lives. It's very unique for every single person that comes. And then we come to a sort of a full circle moment in the session that incorporates everything, and it always works out to just come back full circle. at the end, I offer you suggestions. I even give you a suggestion sheet. Depending on what's happened for you there, I want you to be able to continue your experience of being open and connected and feeling as good as you do. So I'll give you ways that you can work with that and tools that you can practice. And that's the session.
So is it kind of something that you have kind of created from drawing on different traditional practices, or is this something that, kind of the overall experience? Is it something that is that has been passed down from the Native American culture?
It's a complete creation of my own based on everything I have learned and experienced, including my work with Native Americans, my work as a hospice volunteer, my decades of studies in everything from crystal healing to hypnotherapy. And I do have some certifications involved in some of that.
And what kind of, feedback do you get from people? Do you hear from people like right after the session, or do people ever get back in touch with you like weeks later and, just to let you know like how the experience affected them?
They do, and I love it. The most common words I hear from people at the end of a session are, I feel so much better. I feel lighter. They get an inspiration and guidance that helps them cope with the problems they're facing. They feel loved and respected, honored for being who they are. And a lot of times people will email me later and just thank me for being able to help them cope with something or move past something or open themselves up in ways that they've been able to kind of recreate their own lifestyle to cultivate greater wellness.
Yeah, I saw a story in Travel and Leisure describing a session with you, and the writer says she left, quote, brimming with revelations about myself and my life. She also wrote that you really took some weight off her shoulders. Is that the goal every time? Does it take different forms?
I really love hearing that. Thank you. My goal every time is to connect with people in the power of love and help them with the gifts that I have to offer. So I don't have a specified agenda on their behalf. My goal is to connect with spirit and be as pure a channel as I possibly can. And every single person that comes to me is unique unto their own. And they are all the same to me in terms of how precious I feel that they are.
Yeah. And so, Nancy, after they kind of complete your session, then they are kind of, they walk out and they're in the middle of the Ojai Valley Inn, which is this incredible, beautiful setting that they can then, relax and maybe reflect on what they experienced.
It's true. And it's so perfect for helping to integrate the session and the magnificence of the nature and the surroundings you're in. It's just like the perfect complement to what's happened and gives you a chance to have some space and time for it to kind of settle in. But what I really love also is that nature in her beauty becomes this reflection of the true nature of life and our belonging in it. So yes, the surroundings complement the session and give you time and space to feel that deeper connection and that awe of life itself.
That's really beautiful.
It is truly the highlight of my life to be able to work with people at this level. I consider it a privilege and an honor to have this kind of time with people, to be able to witness people's feelings and experiences and desires. And it is incredibly fulfilling. It's because it's part of my soul's purpose and I'm actually realizing the fulfillment of that. So yes, and to be able to help people is immensely gratifying.
Well, your passion definitely, comes through the microphone. So thank you for joining us on California Now.
Oh, all my pleasure, and thank you so much, Satirius.
Nancy Furst is a spiritual artist at the Ojai Valley Inn, online at ojaivalleyinn.com. As always, we'll have links to all the places we talked about on today's episode and lots more on our website, visitcalifornia.com/podcast. This is California Now. Wellness involves taking care of your body and resting your mind. And boy, do we know just the place for that. Located with a stunning view over the Coachella Valley, the Ritz-Carlton Rancho Mirage offers true luxury and a one-of-a-kind spa experience. Here to tell us more is General Manager Kelly Steward. Welcome to California Now, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So let's start with the area generally. Where exactly is Rancho Mirage, and how would you describe the landscape to somebody who's never been there before?
I would say that we are 2.5 hours away from Los Angeles. We're about 2 hours from San Diego, and the beauty of it is we are in this desert oasis. And so even when you're flying in or you're driving in, you are in this sand and this desert, almost like you would be in the Middle East. And then all of a sudden you see lush greenery and palm trees. And so we are the only resort that is located on a mountaintop. And it has a beautiful view. I'll say almost a 360-degree view of the entire valley and mountains that are just, the topography is just fantastic.
And so, not only is the property, beautiful, but then I would imagine like those views must be incredible as well.
The views are absolutely stunning. And you have a 360-degree view of the San Jacinto Mountains, the Santa Rosa Mountains, and then the beautiful valley below. And we often have guests comment about the air being different the moment they disembark.
Right. So you're kind of like, you almost feel as you're walking, as you're going up the mountain and you're entering the resort, you're kind of like feeling all of these, these things that are weighing you down from your everyday life, kind of just lifting and kind of like just you're getting released from them.
Absolutely.
I'm imagining like a lot of people probably come to your resort for wellness. So let's say I'm ready to be pampered. I'm going all out on the spa. What can I look forward to?
When you enter the spa, it's a separate building. So it's separate from the guest rooms and the activities of the resort, which I think is beautiful in a sense. When you walk in, you hear the outside, you hear the tranquil waters and the healing power of that water. And as you walk through the doors, there are these 222 natural quartz crystals that are up above you. You start to smell the indigenous signature scent of our Mirage candle, and it has notes of tropics, more citrus than anything here in the desert. And it is just beautiful. We also have infused water that changes daily. And yesterday I had a watermelon kiwi infused water. No sugar, no calories, and it is really starts as you're checking in with our spa reception team with their warmth and hospitality. It's a nice way to enter in and start your wellness journey with us.
It sounds lovely. Is the spa experience like they're really tailored around wellness?
Absolutely. And with our 6 new wellness intention treatments, I think it's incredible what we're doing.
Okay, let's go deep on a couple of them. So like tell me about one of these new treatments.
So one of the new treatments is the art of wellness, which is my favorite. I was absolutely transformed yesterday with this treatment, and it is pure bliss. I had to go in and really do a quality check before having this.
Yeah, you had to do your research. I'm sorry I had to make you do that.
I know it was tough to take, but I will tell you, the journey starts with healing benefits of grounding you. And so, it's about breathing exercises and breathing in and deep and really thinking about you. And I love it because Chris, who is my provider, absolutely got me into a state of mind. And we talked about that state of mind. And that state of mind is about you, all about you in that 80 minutes of bliss. And so, really focusing on what your intentions are, what your breathing is about, but then also being centered and leaving everything else that the world presents away from you and thinking about just you. And so, it's really critical for the elements of wellness. And the other thing is, there's tranquility in our relaxation lounges too. And so we have dry lounges for just relaxation. We have cold plunge pools, warm plunge pools, but then also we have the aromatherapy showers. And I love that because the guest gets to select what scent they would like to have for their shower. I always encourage our guests to go in and steam and sauna as well. And one thing I absolutely love too is when we're giving the fond farewell and we're bidding adieu to the guest, we give a beautiful stone to the guest, a smooth gem, if you will. And as you're departing, I spoke about the waters, the healing waters. You are to cast your intention or your wellness wish into that water, and that should set your journey to really think about your mind going forward, to take it beyond the spa. And maybe it means going to your guest room and having a nap, or maybe it means going to the adult pool or vista pool overlooking the mountains and having that sunbathing experience, or maybe a float in the pool.
That sounds great. Let's zoom out a little bit and talk about some other ways I can find a bit of balance while I'm there. What are some other things I can do while I'm there to help me kind of with my balance?
One of the things that I love in the morning is that we have a guided hike. That's a beauty too, and it's not it's about an hour of hiking. It's not over exertion for the guest, but I'll tell you the beauty and the heights that we take you through to really see the sunrise of the valley is absolutely gorgeous, and to have again those peaceful or mindful moments. And maybe even saying a little intention out there into the universe, or maybe it's even attention or prayer to who the deity that one believes in, I think is important. And that guided hike is great. And then coming back and we have some smoothies for their guests or juices, and I think that's very nice too. The guest also can have specialized classes with us, and I love being on our outdoor lawns and overlooking the valley and seeing all of our guests having
Hmm.
meditation or moments of yoga, as well as we just introduced sound meditation.
What's that?
That's You have these different bowls, and there is a device that you hover over the bowl around the rim of this
Hmm.
bowl. And so you have to really set your intentions again and really be at one with it. You're on a yoga mat, you're lying down, and you're at peace, and then having these healing sounds and these healing tones that really take you to a different state of mind, an experience that you've not had before.
And Kelly, what's one more thing you're proud of about the property that not many people realize?
First of all, it's our ladies and gentlemen and their service, and they're just warm and caring hearts and how they go above and beyond. But I also feel this transformation from day into night. So you have the sunshine, you have the vibrancy, you see the beauty of the flora and the fauna throughout our resort. And then it's transformative at night when we illuminate all the fire pits that are throughout our property. There's the market lights that adorn our areas of our outdoor restaurant and being on the terrace and overlooking the valley. I think too, when you look at night down into the valley from high atop the hill, you see the stars and the moon, but then also I call it the glistening diamonds of the valley. You see all the lights throughout the valley. And so it's sort of like there's a mirror image of the valley to the sky with these diamonds, if you will, or the stars.
Kelly, I'm a real big fan of stargazing, so I would imagine that that your property must be like an incredible place to just kind of lie out, in the night sky and just take it all in.
It absolutely is. And it is not uncommon for us to see guests enveloped in their robes and to lie down on our grass lawn and to look up in the sky and really have some just moments before they go to bed or retire for the evening. And whether they're saying prayers or whether they're reflecting on their day or whether they're thinking about what tomorrow brings. I think those are mindful meditation moments too. And, maybe they're wishing upon a star as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's I don't want to call it maybe a practice, but it's something that actually can really add to your wellness and your feeling of being kind of in balance.
That absolutely so important in the wellness journey.
Well, Kelly, this sounds like the definition of California luxury. Thanks so much for joining us on California Now.
Thank you. A pleasure.
Kelly Steward is general manager of the Ritz-Carlton Rancho Mirage. Online, check out ritzcarlton.com/Rancho Mirage. This is California Now. Thank you for listening to California Now. We hope to see you in the Golden State soon. This podcast is produced by Visit California. I'm your host, Satirius Johnson. You can find our show on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're in trip planning mode, be sure to check out the California Now blog. It's the perfect companion to the conversations you just heard on this podcast. You'll find timely and topical trend stories, the latest updates and local events, and much more. It's all at visitcalifornia.com/now. That's visitcalifornia.com/now.